Steve, I guess, what's the mindset coming into a game like this? You're 3-1 up, 3-0 up after the first leg. Just how do you approach something like this?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Everyone's going to say it's just another game, but it's a finals game, so obviously got that added pressure, and one, it's a game with a bit more pressure. But again, we've gone into the week just as a normal week, staying focused, staying grounded, and then just focusing on the things that we can do and what we know that we can do that'll win us the game.
I mean, with an aggregate lead like this, do you play as if you're 3-0 up and you defend a lead, or does that give you a bit more freedom, or do you just play it as if it's 0-0?
No, I think we stick to the structure that we have, and we've had that all year. Going into games, I think that's put us in this position. The structure throughout the year and then the team effort. So I think that's what we'll be looking at and going into the game with that mindset.
When last year for Melbourne City, still made the finals in the way, but wasn't quite at the level we've come to expect from City. This year, finished second, qualified for Asia, a game away from a grand final. Where have the biggest improvements from last season to this one come for you?
It's an interesting one, because I think looking on paper last year, our squad was very strong on paper, but I think this year the cohesion has been a lot stronger on and off the field. I think it's not so, more so in just working hard, and I think again buying into that structure, and players that have come in and out have made a big impact, and like get the injuries and things like that. It hasn't been easy, but again, people and players buying into the structure, I think, has been the massive difference for me.
Before I keep going, was anyone
As an experienced player in the squad, how do you keep everybody grounded, being 3-1 up?
That's the interesting one, because I don't think we've had to do too much. Again, going to all the players, but quite switched on. It's been a good week training, and again, just reinforcing things that we have to do well. And I think, again, the whole squad hasn't really had to be reminded of that. We've just gone about our everyday thing and just keep moving forward.
Does it feel like a certain kind of buzz? Obviously, the girls got last night, they went play in a final. Is there a buzz around the club with both teams doing really well?
Yeah, I think so. I think obviously seeing the girls last night was incredible. Great finish to the game, and a big opportunity for them. And it's good to see Melbourne City on the massive stage back in Asia. I think that's where every club wants to be. So to have the male and female teams in there, it's a massive achievement for the club.
After the way the girls' season finished, you glad there's VAR in the men's league?
Yeah, we watched that a little bit, and it was a hard ending for them. But again, that's football, and that's why we love the sport sometimes.
You touched on the injuries before, but it looks like now, obviously, a few players out. Jimmy's out, Andrew's out, a few long-term injuries, but for the most part, you're all healthy at the right time of season. What sort of boost is that, given that you had to struggle at times without players throughout so much of the season?
Yeah, it's incredible, because you look at that run. I think it was mid to late January. We had 3 or 4 games in the space of 2 weeks, and we picked up nearly maximum points, and that was with a lot of injuries. So I think, coming into this last half of the last bit of the season, to have everyone back nearly, it's massive. It gives options on and off the bench and the starting lineup, so it's a big impact for us.
I mean, has that helped you stay sharp at this point in the season? Because now, obviously, you've got some very well-credentialed veteran boys, but now they've watched these young boys come through and prove they can pick up points, so they know they have to stay sharp, otherwise the youngsters come in for their job.
Yeah, it's a great point. I think the youngsters that did come in, they prove that they can do it in the big games and things like that. So, it's obviously up to the older boys to get their position back. It's football, it's a competitive sport within the club, so you want to fight for your position and then go from there.
You touched on a bit before about the pressure in finals football. Just when you're out there on the pitch, what is the difference between a finals game and a regular season game? How do you feel it as a footballer?
It's hard to put your finger on it, but I think if I had to explain it, a little bit more emphasis on mistakes. I think that's a big one. One mistake can change the game. And then again, like we saw on the weekend, one piece of brilliance can change the game in your favour. So I think it's going to finals comes down to little individual pieces, whether it's mistakes or positive things. So I think coming into the game, the top teams are there for a reason. So I think that's the little difference.
It's obviously a really big lead, so you've got it against Western United, but you'd imagine they come out with a lot of pressure. Is that opening kind of 20-minute block the most important for you guys?
We expect. We've played them 3 or 4 times a year this year and in pre-season, so we know what they're like with and without the ball. Very structured, very disciplined, and again, we're more focused on ourselves and doing what we do well. And again, we understand the score. We're not naive enough to go into the game and think they're going to sit back or do anything silly that we're not expecting. So I think it's up to us in our hands to be ready for everything. And again, it's going to be an exciting game, and we look forward to it.
One of the things that was really noticeable about your performance in the first leg was how clinical you were. At times that's been something that's let the side down this season. You've been great defensively, not many goals. What went right in the first leg, and how do you ensure that that carries over not just to this game but potentially a grand final next week?
Yeah, I think you're spot on there with being clinical. We didn't have a lot of chances, I think, going into watching the game back and things like that, but we did take our chances. And again, yeah, defensively being solid, which has been a massive killer for us this year. And obviously getting a goal early settled the nerves, I feel, a bit. And then, yeah, again, taking our chances in front of goal, creating those chances, and just, yeah, doing the things that we do best.
The other semi-final will kick off a few hours before yours. That will, if you do get through, determine your opponents. What's the process with that? Obviously, you've got to do the warm-ups, but will somebody be paying attention to that? Will you be getting updates, or do you just ignore that game and then find out if you do win who you play next week afterwards?
Oh, personally, I think it even happened even last year with games going into the final series. Personally, I don't like to pay attention to that. We've got a job. We've still got to go win a game. So we're not really focused on that. It is what it is on the other side. Yeah, so personally, I don't think anyone really will be focused on that. It's about us and preparing for our game first, and then worry about that after.
All respect to Dylan and Western United. If you get past Western United, do you have a preference, Auckland or Melbourne Victory?
It's a grand final. So for me, it's a grand final, another opportunity to play in the biggest game of the year. So let's put our best foot forward first, get into there, and then go from then.
Obviously, it was a big morning for Australian football. Did you watch the game?
I didn't. Obviously, with a newborn recently, I've been trying to get my sleep. I saw the last probably half an hour and the celebrations. That was amazing to see. Credit to Ange and what he's done for Australian football. So yeah, that was amazing to see for him and the Australian